Hello everybody, my name is Sniping is Fun, and I welcome you all back to my next The 5 list, and we're sent to all of you here on YouTube. And today's list, as noted by my shirt, is going to be a Dragon Ball oriented list, and it's going to be relating to the new Dragon Ball FighterZ game that is coming out approximately a month from now at the end of January 2018, and it's going to be my 5 characters I feel should be DLC in that game. I know it's early. I know the game's not out yet. It's too early to talk about DLC, but you know this game's gonna get DLC. There's a lot of characters they still add. It's gonna be pretty freaking popular because it's based off Dragon Ball, and there's characters that people still want to see added from the various incarnations of the Dragon Ball shows and universe and everything, and it's bound to happen. So I want to jump on that and give my thoughts before the game releases in a month. Because I'm a big fighting game fan. Everything you basically see on my channel, you've noticed I've especially in the 5 list relates to fighting games, and I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. So mixing those two together just makes this the 5 list, and I'm going to talk about 5 characters I personally want to see in this game. We have a good roster so far of 24 characters. We have that original for the game character Android 21. There's Yamcha and Goku Blue, Vegeta Blue. They have Hit and Beerus and Nappa and Frieza and Cell and Majin Buu, the fat one, and Kid Buu, and Gotenks and Adult Gohan, Piccolo, all this Trunks, and just a really cool roster. The roster for a starting game is actually pretty good. I know 24 might not be the ideal size for some fans out there, but it is a pretty decent size for a game that kind of is taking us back to older Dragon Ball fighting games, from the Super Famicom or something like Ultimate Battle 22, the 2D fighting game oriented Dragon Ball games. Not the Xenoverse or Budokai Tenkaichi and stuff like that, the 3D one, a straight up fighting game, especially in 2D style, which, like I said, takes you back to all the Super Famicom games and on the PlayStation 1 Ultimate Battle 22, which I grew up with. It's a pretty cool game. It's not my favorite PlayStation 1 Dragon Ball Z game. That goes to Legends. But it was a pretty cool game. I remember that. And I owned both the Japanese and the English copies of that game. It's pretty freaking cool. But let's get on topic before this gets out of hand for 5 characters I personally feel should be DLC in Dragon Ball FighterZ. And before I get started, I want to basically mention this. I had to do it like this because it'd be unfair to represent my list any other way. Each entry on my list represents a different incarnation of the Dragon Ball universe. One character is going to be from the original Dragon Ball. One character is going to be from Dragon Ball Z. One character is going to be from GT. And I know some haters out there will think, oh, GT sucks, non-canon, blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot of interesting characters from there, and they've been in practically every other Dragon Ball fighting game, so I had to include at least one character on my list from that show. And quite frankly, I don't really see too much of hate for it. It's not my favorite. It's probably the least favorite show I have for it, but I'm not going to hate on GT like a lot of the fans do. One character from Super and a movie-based character. Because that's the only way it can be fair, because if I didn't do like that, there's going to be a bunch of Dragon Ball Z characters, or GT characters, or Dragon Ball characters, and it'd be unfair to represent one without the other. I had to give fairness here, so I'm letting you guys know that right here and now. One character from each of those incarnations. And let's get started with Dragon Ball. And the one character, this is my first on my list, the one character I could personally see that they need to include from the original Dragon Ball is Mercenary Tao. He fits in this game perfectly. It's a straight up fighting game. He does martial arts. He's an assassin. He has a lot of attacks that could do something like that. And instead of just representing a good guy from Dragon Ball, we should represent a villain. He like I said, his moveset would be pretty cool. He's basically a martial artist, so he was the teacher of Tien and whatnot. So basically, he would have maybe some similar moves, except Tien has obviously trained past since Mercenary Tao's death and became his own fighter and learned key attacks and everything. Mercenary Tao doesn't know key attacks, but he can do other little things that could replace stuff like that. He could do his little throwing of his giant tree log thing. He could throw grenades and do little cheap underhand attacks. While he is a master of martial arts, he is a douchebag. He's kind of a bad guy, and he does dirty-handed tactics. So it's how they did Hercule in a lot of fighting, a lot of the previous Dragon Ball Z games, where he can do little doodads like gadgets and everything. You give Mercenary Tao some little technique attacks that are like him doing cheap attacks, like throwing grenades and whatnot, on top of his mercenary assassin martial arts attacks, and then throwing his throwing log, where he just rides the giant tree trunk and stuff like that. It'd be a very cool character. He's the only character that really stands out to me for a Dragon Ball character. I know they could probably do Kid Goku or General Blue or King Piccolo or something like that. But really, the only character that really stands out to me from a Dragon Ball standpoint is Mercenary Tao. He is a very popular villain. Whether or not you want to do the original version of him or the cyborg version of him, I don't really care. Maybe you could go either or. Because at least with the cyborg one, he has like a blade that comes out of his arm and stuff like that, so you can try to add some stuff like that. But he'd be a straight up just a martial artist with some dirty-handed tactics thrown in. So it would differentiate him from everyone else in this game that does key attacks 24/7 on top of their martial arts and punches and kicks and whatnot. And I personally pick as my Dragon Ball representation on this list, Mercenary Tao. On to Dragon Ball Z, and they picked a lot of the good ones from this game for the Dragon Ball Z characters, so I didn't really have too many choices really to pick from, but I wanted to include this character because it is kind of differentiating this character from the rest of the roster too, and she was in competitiveness with a certain other character that I was considering, and I wanted to go with her because I think she'd be more original than he would be, and that goes to Videl. I originally was thinking about putting Hercule on this list because Hercule is in like everything Dragon Ball oriented now. Mr. Satan, Hercule, whatever the heck you want to call him by, he's interesting. He's been in like every single game. He does his jetpack, he flies around, stuff like that. He's been around since like the PlayStation 1 days and whatnot. So, but I want to go with his daughter Videl, Gohan's wife, Pan's mother, because I think she would represent it more than a lot of their characters. They've already picked all the good ones. So they picked all the villains like Frieza and Cell and everything. Hercule's been in a lot of stuff. Mr. Satan's been in a lot of stuff. So I didn't want to go with the easy go choice. Videl's not been in too many other games. And there's really no one else besides maybe like Raditz from Dragon Ball Z that they really have not added besides maybe some of the androids or something. Dragon Ball Z is pretty well freaking covered with who they have in the game. But Videl, another female character on the roster, not saying that really dictates whether or not I include her or not, but it's there. She knows martial arts. She learned from her dad, so she has some martial arts techniques. She now knows how to fly with, and this is basically Dragon Ball Z Videl. I know they eventually made her a motherly figure in Super and GT and whatnot, and she doesn't really fight anymore, but I'd say go specifically for this version of her, or you can go with the pigtail version from high school. I don't really care. But this version I think I like a lot better because it's during like the tournament, in the World Martial Arts Tournament, and like she does some key-based stuff, but she's more of a martial artist, and I think it'd be like if you take Hercule and made him a legitimate fighter character in the game instead of giving him all his goofy tech and stuff. She knows a little bit of key stuff, can fly a little bit, but is more a martial artist, and our female character rep. She's a pretty freaking popular character in the series. You can do some interesting team-up stuff probably with those cinematic attacks, probably with her and Gohan and Goten and whatnot, and so on and so forth. It'd be pretty freaking interesting, and Videl is my personal choice for a Dragon Ball Z character because she's like the only one, in my opinion, besides like Raditz and Hercule that pretty much is not in the game yet. On to GT. And GT had some interesting choices too. I really do think there's some interesting, characters from GT that really deserve to be fighting game characters in this Dragon Ball FighterZ game. But I went with the personal choice. This is like the more popular choice. I know with Videl, I picked her instead of like Hercule would be like the most obvious choice. But this one I went with a more obvious choice because I think this is like the GT. If we got only one GT character, I feel this would be the choice. And that goes to Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I can understand putting Baby in there / Baby Vegeta, maybe Super 17 or Omega Shenron or Majub or something like that. Or, Kid Goku GT version even. Or one of the Super Saiyan 4s of, Goku or Vegeta. But I just picked this because it's the ultimate form of Goku and Vegeta fused together in Super Saiyan 4 form. Just to give a Super Saiyan, like different form of Super Saiyan in this game. Because we already have Super Saiyan Blue and the regular Super Saiyan and stuff like that. So it's like, give us Super Saiyan 4, which is still freaking popular. This is probably, this character is pretty freaking popular, Gogeta. It showed up in the movies. He was a character in... in GT, you can give him basically all the attacks of Goku and Vegeta. They basically share attacks like Big Bang attacks and Kamehameha's Big Bang and Kamehameha and whatnot. It's a super powerful, fast character that fits easily in with Goku, Vegeta, Beerus, and Hit, and Goku Black, and every other character they have on this game, like Cell and Frieza, and both versions of Majin Buu and Kid Gohan, Adult Gohan, and stuff like that. It's just like this ultimate fighter that just kicks ass and everything. It's like, it is the GT character I'd pick, and it's like another version of Goku and Vegeta, but this is a fusion. We have Gotenks as a fusion, so I think, their dads could be an easy fusion, and it's my definitive choice for a GT character. I know, like, I wanted to include possibly Baby Vegeta or Omega Shenron, even though I'm not a fan of Omega Shenron all that much, but he is probably the biggest villain from that series. So, but I went with this because it's like the easiest choice. It's a good guy. It's the ultimate form of. It's another version of Super Saiyan. It's another fusion character, and you can have some really cool mixture of Goku and Vegeta's movesets in one character for this character. Now we go to Dragon Ball Super, and I know we already have hit Beerus and Goku Black, and I was trying to look like who else from that series would really make sense to be in this thing, and I picked this character, and I know they probably are an overrated choice, and everyone wants to see them, and so on and so forth, but really there's not, in my opinion, because I haven't watched a whole lot of Super, so I'm only going off of like what I'm hearing other people say and seeing some clips and everything, because I'm very freaking far behind in Dragon Ball Super, so I'm not really familiar with too many of the later characters, but I went with Khalifa, because it gives us another female character, a female Saiyan for that matter, and it's like a different arc from the story, because we have Beerus from like the Battle of Gods, we have Hit from like which he's in the tournament now with between the universes, but he was originally with the Universe 6 or 7 thing, and we have the Goku Black. We need someone that's specifically from this tournament arc now, and I think she's the only one that does it. I would say her friend Kale, because of the whole Broly thing, but based off a recent image I've been seeing with the Goku, Gohan, Goten Super Kamehameha team-up thing, which is from the Broly movies, we might be seeing him as a DLC character for all we know. So I'm not going to go with him, and I want to go with someone that's more canon, even though I hate that term so freaking much. I hate when people bring up canon on Dragon Ball Z stuff and Dragon Ball GT and Super and stuff. But I picked Khalifa because she's a cool new character from the series, a female rep, a female Saiyan. She has her own attack. She's like a fast, rude fighter. She's basically similar to like a Goku and Vegeta, except different. She doesn't do all the Kamehamehas and Big Bang attacks and whatever else, Final Flashes. She has her own energy attacks, her own style. She's Super Saiyan, her original design, cool character. She's popular, and it's another super character that we could easily have that represents a different arc, a different saga, a different section of the show. And I'll pick her as my super rep. Now we get on to the movies. In the movies, the movies have a lot of interesting villains and side characters and everything, so it was kind of hard to really pick the best choice. And I didn't pick Broly because I mentioned what I mentioned with Khalifa. There's a rumor, and people are assuming that Broly's in this game as DLC, or he's in the game or something. Someone's not saying because they did that cinematic with the Goku, Gohan, Goten Super Kamehameha team-up thing, which is from one of the Broly movies, and if they put that cinematic in there, he's probably going to show up eventually. So because of that, I did not include him, because it's probably freaking obvious he'll eventually show up at some point, because he's freaking popular. I went with, and this is another character that a lot of people tend to go for in terms of movie characters, I went with Janemba. Lord Slug is an ant choice. Garlic Jr. could be debatable. They could bring in Turles, which is, I think, it's pointless, because I would just say bring in Bardock. You have Bojack and Super Android 13 and stuff, and those are interesting characters too, but I think Janemba would be kind of cool, because they would kind of correlate with the Gogeta character, not specifically Super Saiyan 4, but Gogeta in general, because Gogeta they fuse together doing the fusion dance to fight Janemba in this movie. Janemba's like this ultimate evil incarnation of all the evil in the universe. He does like alternating reality attacks and evil-based emotional stuff, and he has a sword that he can use, and he's just has a really cool freaking design if they go with this version of him in particular, which they would. And it's just, I think he's probably one of the cooler villains with an interesting moveset from the Dragon Ball Z movies. And I think he would be my definitive choice for a movie character if they already got Broly. This is the character I'd say after Broly, and maybe around a little bit above like Super 13 and Bojack. And that is it for the 5 characters I feel should be DLC in Dragon Ball FighterZ. I hope you guys like this list. Put in the comments section what you think. What characters do you particularly want to see, as DLC in Dragon Ball, FighterZ, from Dragon Ball Z, GT, the movies, Super, whoever else, good guys, side characters, villains. Who do you personally want to see in this game? And in the comment section, what you guys think about my choices of Khalifa, Janemba, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Videl, and Mercenary Tao. See you later in my next video. My name is Simon. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to, and have a lovely day.